Natya Shastra, as I approach, has a very diverse way than the conventional way. Normally, when we talk about Natya Shastra, or when it is prescribed in the syllabus, normally the chapter number 1, chapter number 6, chapter number 7, and I'm pained to see the narratives in chapters. They don't talk about the topics. So, what I look at Natya Shastra is, it's a wonderful treatise which is so scientific that in the entire history of civilization, we don't find any other such magnificent scripture which deals with the performing arts as a science. As the name itself goes, it's Natya and Shastra. Natya has to deal with the performance and Shastra means science or methodology. So it's a complete methodology of performing arts. When I say it is a science, it must not be taken up like normally we take up with the social sciences and say, no, we are thrusting into the area of sciences, and we say, no, even psychology is a science and sociology is a science, so Natya Shastra is also a science. It's not like that. Actually, Natya Shastra is essentially a treatise based on two sciences. One is medical science and the second is engineering, especially civil engineering and sound engineering. Beyond that, it is also based on astronomy. So on these three backgrounds, I am now going to approach Natya Shastra as an essential study to all what we say sensitive hearts. I am not talking of the students of literature only. Of course, students of literature have an enlarged scope, so they have to study. But I teach essentially Natya Shastra to medical students who are doing MBBS, who are doing their courses in oncology, who are dealing with the psychosomatic diseases. I teach Natya Shastra to the people who are into civil engineering, who are into mechanical engineering, who are into acoustics, the sound engineering. Now, what are the reasons? There should be something at the base to approach Natya Shastra in this manner, and the base is that it itself says that na tat shastram, na tat shilpam, na sa vidya, na sa kala, na so yogo, na tat karmam, natye yasmin yanna drashyate. That means no methodology or science, no skill art, no knowledge systems, no arts, and no yoga. Yoga is the blending, yoga is the combination, embedding, and of course no other action. Nothing is left which is not touched in Natya Shastra. So it's a very composite treatise. It deals with almost all the things which relates to craft, art, field of knowledge, science, actions, applications, everything. To begin with, it has 5,600 shlokas. The dating goes back to 500 to 800 BC, so it's more than 2,500 years old. And it is also called Pancham Veda. When we say Pancham Veda, that means there are 4 Vedas already, and it derives its certain material from other 4 Vedas. So from Rig Veda, it derives the textual part. From Sam Veda, it derives the Gita, the music, the musicology, the whole science of music. From Yajurveda, it derives the action, and from Atharva Veda, it derives the whole science of emotions and feelings, that is the rasa theory. Now, when we see this, we have to understand the flow of sentiment, because ultimately Natya is used to give pleasure, anand, and that is why each Natya starts with a Nandi Vakya. Nandi Vakya is the beginning of the play. In the Sanskrit tradition of plays, we have a Nandi Vakya which has the invocation, and after invocation it deals with the brief introduction of the play, and at the end it has Bharat Vakya. Now Bharat Vakya means Om, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om itself is very scientific, as we know that all the vowels make Om. So after this, the flow of emotions are Yato Hasto, Tato Drishti, Yato Drishti, Tato Manah, Yato Manah, Tato Bhavah, Yato Bhavah, Tato Rasa. It all starts with hands. Whatever the hand gives to the world, the sight follows the hand, and wherever the sight goes, the heart follows the sight. Wherever the heart follows, the emotions go with the heart, and wherever the emotions are there, rasas, the sentiments have to be there. So this is a normal flow of emotions in a performing art like that. Now Natya Shastra has a mastercraft layout. It is magnanimous. It is a micro universe. Just like this whole universe is created, similarly Natya Shastra is created. There are 36 chapters, and these 36 chapters we can divide with the view of three main aspects. The first group of chapter comes in the form of creator. Now, who is a creator? निर्माण कौन करता है? निर्माण कहाँ होता है? Now, the creator is that theater creator, the builder who creates the theater, the stage, the Rangshala. Creator is also the author. Creator is also the musician. Creator is also the composer. Creator is also the actor, and creator is also the audience, because they create nuances, they brand the whole play, and then it progresses. So according to Natya Shastra, it has the Brahma at the center. When we say Brahma, that is the creator. So one group of chapters fall under the group of creators. The second group is according to the plot. Now plot has a very beautiful name in Natya Shastra, and it is called Das Rupak. Das means 10 and Rupak means metaphor. This is such a beautiful concept of Natya Shastra that they say that Natya is the Rupak, is the metaphor. You can derive meaning out of it for whole life. It doesn't even have a simile space. It is exactly the inference can be transferred from Natya to life when we call Dashrupak. So there are 10 types of plays which deal 10 types of plots. Essentially, each plot can be termed into one of the categories. Whatever we find even in the Western world now as the new experiments are already being described in Natya Shastra way back. So the other part is the plot, and the third part, what we know, is the property, the props, the other creations which actually help in generating the sentiments. Now this might be the Rang Abhinay, the Chitra Abhinay. When we say Swabhavik Abhinay, that means that one who is acting, who is emoting, who is performing, maybe through the pen on the pages, that is the author, or maybe an actor who is doing it at this stage, or maybe the audience who is getting connected. But there is also Chitra Abhinay. When we say Chitra Abhinay, that means what extra is needed to create the meaning out of it. To understand Natya Shastra, we need to understand one thing, that Bharat Muni borrowed 3 very common words from the kitchen, and these 3 words still remain same in the meaning even though after 2500 years. Now what are these 3 words? The first word, as we know in our homes, we find only in the kitchen, is Rang. The colors are found in the kitchen only. Therefore, they are termed like Bangani, Pyazia, Shwet. All colors are found in the kitchen. So the first word Bharat Muni borrowed is Rang. The second word he borrowed is Ras, and the third word he borrowed is Patra. Now let's see how he uses these three words. From Rang, Bharat Muni creates Rangshala, Rang Bhumi, Rang Manch. That means the shades of performances, the shades of stories, the shades of moods, the shades of actors, the shades of writings. So there are multi-layered meanings coming out of these shades. That's why this word Rang is even today attached with the performing arts. The second word he picks up Ras, which I'll deal separately immediately after I put this introduction of Natya Shastra. But the third word, Patra. What is Patra? Patra is an empty vessel. When we say empty vessel, that means whatever we fill the Patra with, it is known with that particular ingredient or commodity. So when we fill that vessel with milk, it becomes vessel of milk or dudh ka patra, dugdh patra. If you fill up with shakkar, then it is shakkar ka patra, madhu ka patra, jal patra. Whatever we put into that patra, it is known with that consignment. Now patra, Bharat Muni calls an actor as a patra. What does it mean? It means each time that actor empties himself or herself from that story, from those moods, from those actions, and becomes ready for a new mood, for a new plot, for a new action. Therefore, one actor can play different roles in quick successions, and the moment he plays another role, it is called that patra. So we identify that actor now with this patra. When the new theory comes, the new theme comes, the new play comes, now the actor becomes that patra. So this patra is a very beautiful metaphor what Bharat Muni takes. The third is Ras. As I told you, I'll deal with Ras slightly later. But let me talk what he talks about the theatre. He actually talks how the theatres should be made. What should be the length, how many sizes or shapes of the theatres are needed, which theatre would match with what type of theme, what type of audience would come and watch this type of play or the drama. So it has to match with everything. If it is a war scene, then you cannot have a smooth wooden floor. Why? Because if it is very smooth, then it doesn't look like the soldiers are in the war field. So it has to be layered with very upheavals or uneven floor. Similarly, if there is a scene of river, then maybe there is a boat and behind the boat they are hiding and it looks like they are just going into the river, but the floor has to be such that it looks like they are floating. And then it talks about gati. Gati is the pace. With what pace, which type of action should be performed? Well, I introduced you saying that this is a treatise of anatomy, that is medical sciences, civil engineering, sound engineering and astronomy. Why do I say that? Medical, again I'll deal with rasa, but let me talk about part of anatomy. What Bharat Muni says is, when he defines the types of actors, there are 10 types of Nayak and 10 types of Nayika. Now, when he talks about Nayak, he talks about the combinations. With what type of theme or plot or character, which type of actor would be needed? What should be the voice quality? What should be the poise of the body? How he should look like? How long should be the hair? What type of skin a person have? Everything. And suppose right at the eve of the performance, if someone develops the hoarse throat or sore throat, or there is something wrong with the body, having fever, then what type of medicines should be administered to cure that ailment. So he talks about medicines, he talks about anatomy, he talks about joints, like what is arthritis, how the person has to be straight poised or maybe bent poised, what are the types of props a person can take and cannot take. We have seen in the movies that some character would hold a bird on the finger and that becomes very iconic, or maybe a small goat in the lap, and that also becomes very iconic. So what are these iconic props which we say Chitra Vinay, why we should do it? He talks in details. When we talk about civil engineering and mechanical engineering, he is essentially talking about astronomy joined with civil engineering. When I am dealing with Ras, you will find that why I am saying that. This is Vastu. We have 10 directions. Each direction is governed by one particular deity. So if it is Veer Ras, it has to be performed on the southern part of the stage, and if it is southern part of the stage, then the civil engineer has to keep in mind when he is preparing that particular stage for a Veer Ras play, that the southern part has all the essential entries, exits, layout of the floor, so on and so forth. So each rasa is defined according to the directions. The directions have their own deity, and the civil engineer who is designing, the architect who is designing, the interior designer who is setting up the stage, they all have to join together to set up this stage. When we talk of mechanical engineering, they create certain types of entries, exits, front four, back four, the galleries, that even a murmur is heard by the last person. We should not forget that Natya Shastra was written in a time when there was no light arrangement, when there was no sound arrangement. It was all in the open air, maybe most of the time. If it is in the open air, then people would sit right at the spread of the whole field. So even the smallest sound is heard by the last person. So what are the arrangements? Who can be the chorus singer? Who can be the main lead? Who can sing? Who cannot sing? Who is asked to perform in a certain manner? He also talks about the types of plot. What we can now categorize the themes of the movies, or maybe themes of the theatre. So one is what he say Lok Dharmi, and the another he says is Natya Dharmi. When he says Lok Dharmi means that which is real in the world. So we call it realism, that the drama should depict the life exactly as it happens in the world. It is the realistic representation of life. So you have actual characters, their relationships, their tensions, their pleasures, their pains, their anger. That there is little use of imagination, and it is a sort of replica of the events borrowed from the life. But the other part is Natya Dharmi. When we say Natya Dharmi, the Natya Dharmi means it is imagination. You can actually take poetic licenses and create an imaginary. Now the whole Hollywood works on this Natya Dharmi theme because they have aliens, they have space wars, they can create the different types of faces and call them aliens like that. So whenever we use imagination, it is Natya Dharmi. If it is a replica of life, it is Lok Dharmi. Going ahead, he also talks about music. And when he talks about music, one would be astonished to see the precision of the science of music. He's talking about ragas, he's talking about the timings, he's talking about the pace, he's also talking about the Desi and Shuddha. He talks in the term of Sanskrit and Prakrit, but now we know we actually categorize them in the form of urban and rural. So in an entirety, he divides the whole region, whole Bharatvarsh, into 5 primary regions, and then he gives the qualities of each region. For example, it is south, so he would say in south the sound is very harsh, the beats are very loud, something in Ravan Sanghita, so you can actually hear those sounds happening. As we move slightly further towards the north, the sounds start becoming rounding. You can include some meaningless words. These meaningless words actually provide the moods of the things. If you move towards east, then in eastern side, the Parishkrit, the actual pure language, at the end of the sentence gives way to Desi. In between it might be pure, but when it ends with a rustic tone. For example, Badri Babul ke Angna Jaiyo. Now, it doesn't say Jana, it says Jaiyo. So, at the end of it, it becomes rustic. When it moves towards the west northern part, he says it is all the more like a Parishkrit, the Sanskrit-nisht, that means the pure languages. But if we move towards Gandhar, as he did as the Kshetra, that is the northern part of the country towards Himalayas, he says the sound starts becoming slow, the words start becoming very softer, the pace is reduced, and from there most of the devotional music comes. So it's a wonderful segregation of the, we can say it's a geo-biographical approach to literature in a very scientific manner, in the terms of phonetics, in the terms of linguistics, in the terms of grammar, in the terms of maybe whole of the dramaturgic sciences, that he is talking in a very, very scientific manner. So when he talks about all these things, he never ever forgets that each and everything has to be performed on the stage. So at each stage, he talks about that architect, that civil engineering art, that acoustics, which actually would accompany these people. And then also he talks about the colors, the sciences of colors. So he awards them the colors, like for the villains, what type of colors would be suited, for the maybe supernatural hero, what should be the colors used, for demons, for Asur, for Devta, for Nagarik, for Dasi, and again who would address whom in what way. Suppose there is a king, then a king's friend would have a different address, king's wife would have a different address, king's minister would have a different address, subjects would have a different address. So Rishi or Sant or Guru would have a different address. So he is very, very particular, very peculiar in his presentation of the layout in these 36 chapters. Now I know we would run out of time, but I have to now come to the Ras and Bhav. I told you the word Ras, he picked up from the kitchen. Well, I wonder how many of us have really thought about that what is Ras? Why he says it Ras? Why he used this word Ras? Because as I understand, Ras means juice, and juice can be extracted from either fruits or from vegetables or from flowers. So what juice is doing in Natya Shastra? Have we ever wondered why do we respond to a comic scene? Why do we respond to a bravery scene? Why do we respond to a romantic scene? If someone is crying, why do we start crying? What is this connection? चिति कहाँ है, भाव कहाँ है, उस लेखक की लेखनी में है, उस कलाकार के प्रदर्शन में है, उस दर्शक के मन में है. अभिनव गुप्त ने बहुत बड़ा प्रश्न खड़ा किया कि what is the seat of beauty? Who enjoys beauty? Who experiences beauty? Who feels the beauty? So Bharat Muni picks up this word ras. And when I say it's an entirely a medical treatise, this is the reason. Why do we go to theatre? Why do we enjoy arts? Why do we listen to music? Why do we enjoy movies or TV serials or stories or picture or sculpture, any form of aesthetics? What gives us? It gives us pleasure. Pleasure means it should soothe our heart, and it should not soothe only in the positive feelings. So we have 8 types of rasas, and these 8 types of rasas, when they soothe us, they essentially soothe us maybe through krodh, maybe to jugupsa, all sorts like Shringar, Hasya, Karun, Veer, Vibhats, Raudra, Bhayanak, Adbhut, Shant. So these are the different types of moods which give us pleasure through artificial display of emotions. But the question comes, what is that thing? Which is that organ inside our body that responds to these ras? People normally say heart, but heart is just a pumping machine. Heart has no role in creating emotions. So what is that? In our body, we have glands. In each gland controls minimum 2 types of emotions. So whenever, suppose we are walking on the road and some animal comes or suddenly some vehicle comes, we start running and we say, oh, our adrenal has become activated. If there is a lot of acidity, or if we have the jealousy, we say, oh, it's like pituitary is activated. If someone is in depression, we say, oh, thyroid is not working properly. Each gland has a role to play in particular controlling of that emotion. Now, whenever we watch any artificial aesthetic experience, we feel, our brain perceives through the 5 senses. So the brain gets signal, and as usual it flashes to the whole body. Now the organ with which it entirely relates to, that organ responds. So we have Gyanendriya and we have Karmendriya. These glands are duct and ductless. When we say duct glands are those through which the juice comes out, like tears, like saliva, like sweat, and these have a bigger role in acting. The real acting means when someone can actually cry, so we can see the tears. When someone really can sweat out of fear or anger, or the face becomes red or black out of fear, like that. Now these are the duct glands. Then there are ductless glands which reside inside the body. Now these glands, when they are activated, they start releasing juice. This is this juice that Bharat Muni calls this whole science of experiencing mood as ras. This is the ras theory. When our body at a particular sentiment releases that particular ras, so Bharat Muni says there are 8 types of rasas. That means 8 types of reactions through the moods. Today when you go to the doctor and we need some prescription, the doctor talks essentially about the moods and would suggest that, okay, live in some happy environment, listen to some nice music. What is happening? He's actually trying to balance the functions of the glands, and that is the glandular function that Bharat Muni has been talking through rasa and bhav, that how the generations of rasa can actually cure and then gives pleasure, because it puts everything in symphony. Then it's synchronizing a harmonious state in the body through which a body, mind and soul can remain healthy. Now there are 8 rasas. Each ras has its own deity and has its own primary color. For example, Shringar ras. Now Shringar ras we can identify through romance, through love, through sentiment, attractiveness. Its presiding deity is Vishnu and its color is light green. Then the Hasyam, the Hasya ras, it has laughter, mirth. It's the presiding deity is Shiva and the color is white. Then the third is Raudra ras. and the Raudra Ras presiding deity is again Shiva, as we know, Shiva for Lasya and Shiva for Tandav, and its presiding color is red. Then we have Karunyam, and for Karunyam the presiding deity is Yam and the color is grey. Then we have Vibhatsras, and for Vibhatsras the presiding deity again is Shiva, again with the Tandav, and the color is blue. We have Bhayanakras, and for Bhayanakras the deity is Yam and color is black. Then we have Veerras, and for Veerras the presiding deity is Indra and the color is saffron. And in the list last comes the Adbhut Ras, and for Adbhut Ras the presiding deity is Brahma and its color is yellow. Shant Ras was not included by Bharat Muni himself. Shant Ras comes later. So this is something very scientific when we talk about rasas, that it's a whole of medical science he is talking about through the duct and ductless glands, which actually release the juice which can be seen or not to be seen, but it's a reaction of body to an experience. I'll just give you one example from Kalidas. We all know the story of Abhigyan Shakuntalam. Now Abhigyan Shakuntalam has a scene. You can just imagine that at the stage it's the ashram, Rishi Kanwa's ashram. On one side of the ashram, Shakuntala is there. She is present, physically present, but mentally she is too much absorbed into the thoughts of Dushyant. Dushyant has recently married her and has left her for a reason because Kanwa was not there, and he said, no, you are now Maharani, I'll come back and I'll take you with lot of grandeur. So she is there, she is totally newlywed girl, ऋषि कन्या है, आश्रम कन्या है, बहुत नाजुक है, सुंदर है, नाजों से पली है। वो दुष्यंत के ख्यालों में पूरे स्टेज पर एक कोने में श्रृंगार रस में बैठी है। अब ये सीन है, सामने दर्शक हैं, स्टेज के एक कोने में शकुंतला है, पूरा श्रृंगार रस है और दर्शक भी उसे श्रृंगार रस से ही देख रहे हैं। स्टेज के दूसरे कोने में एक ऋषि आते हैं। अब जैसे ऋषि आते हैं, जो ऑडियंस है वो अब दो रसों में बट गई है। एक तरफ वो श्रृंगार रस देख रही है और दूसरी तरफ शांत रस में एक ऋषि का आगमन देख रही है। तो जब ऋषि को देखते हैं वो शांत हो जाते हैं, शकुंतला को देखते हैं तो श्रृंगार में आ जाते हैं। ये ऋषि थोड़ा आगे आते हैं, आगे आके शकुंतला को आवाज़ लगाते हैं कि पुत्री मुझे पानी मिलेगा। और जैसे ही वो ये कहते हैं, दर्शक शांत रस में से जागृत हो जाते हैं और सीधे शकुंतला की तरफ देखते हैं जो अभी भी सुनती नहीं है। तो उसका श्रृंगार रस चल रहा है, लेकिन ये शांत रस थोड़ा थोड़ा रौद्र रस में बदलता जा रहा है और जो ऑडियंस बैठी है वो शांत रस भूल गई है, वो रौद्र से अद्भुत रस में आ गई है कि क्या होगा अब। ऋषि और थोड़ा आगे आते हैं, शकुंतला अभी भी श्रृंगार रस में ही है। ऋषि का जो थोड़ा सा चेंज ऑफ टोन था अब एक्चुअल रौद्र रस में आ रहा है। थोड़ा जोर से बोलते हैं, पुत्री क्या तू जानती नहीं मैं दुर्वासा हूँ और मुझे थोड़ा पानी मिलेगा। जैसे ही ऑडियंस दुर्वासा सुनती है, ऑडियंस का जो अद्भुत रस था वो भय में आ जाता है। अब कितना स्विफ्ट चेंज ऑफ रस चल रहा है। कालिदास ने मुश्किल से 5 मिनट के सीन में इतने रस इसमें जागृत कर दिए हैं और सबसे ज्यादा रस ऑडियंस में जागृत हुए। श्रृंगार रस चल रहा है, यहाँ से शांत रस, शांत से रौद्र और दर्शकों में अद्भुत से भय आ गया है। और तीसरी बार भी जब शकुंतला नहीं सुनती तो ऋषि और आगे आते हैं और जोर से कहते, पुत्री तूने मेरा अनादर किया है, तू जिसके भी विचारों में गुम है वो तुझे भूल जाएगा। और जैसे ही ये रौद्र रूप दर्शक देखते हैं तो अब दर्शक रोने लग जाते हैं, करुण रस में आ जाते हैं। Now why I am depicting this scene here? Because this scene in any place, crossing the body of time, place and action, would actually result this this experience and reaction from the audience always. There are certain scenes which would have the same reactions at any place. For example, Ram ka dhanush todna. Even in a gully, if a small child breaks a arrow and bow and all, and then immediately people start clapping. So art has that quick reaction into the body which becomes unified, and here comes the answer, which is the seat of the body, which is the seat of aesthetic pleasure. The seat of aesthetic pleasure is that particular action which joins all creators together, whether it is the author or the actor or the creator of that theater or the audience, and that only would make a text, or it would categorize the text into three categories. One is transient, that is tatkalik. If the text fails, or if the work of art fails in generating a prolonged reaction, it is called tatkalik or transient. Then the second is contemporary, that is samayik, as we know with the periodic, the Renaissance literature, the Victorian literature, the modern literature, and post that it stops having the same emotion. So samayik. And the third is Kaljayi or universal. So this is how the Natya Shastra is an entire treatise of wonderful scientific approach to the theory of aesthetics and performing arts. It actually lays down the universal principles which can be applied to almost any part of a creation, and this is how we can analyze the creations or the aesthetic pleasure. We have to be very scientific when we digress into the analysis or want to become an art critic, or maybe a person who wants to experience the anand, the permanent. So